What was the most expensive thing you ever got for free, because someone made a mistake and didn't charge you? 1. Back in 1983, I needed an upscale cocktail dress for a cosmetic industry function. I found a delightful $1,200 silk dress marked down 50% to $600. It has a tiny rip by the zipper that I could repair, but it was still way over my budget. I was a very junior marketing person at the time, so not earning great. I asked the sales clerk if they do better on the price due to the rip, and she agreed to take another 50% off, bringing it to $300. She retickets it over the original ticket and the first sale ticket. Still more than I could truly afford, but I decided to buy it anyway. I go to the cashier to pay and she asked me if it came off the 50% sale rack. When I said it was, she says it is 50% off and rings $150 into the register, instead of the $300, even though it had multiple sales tickets on it. Lucky me, I'm thinking. But before I can pay, she notices the small rip and says she will deduct an extra $50, which now brings it to $100. I happily paid and left the store ASAP, just in case. Lol. And I received many compliments for my dress at the event. 2. One day while I was working at a fast food joint, this lady left her Louis Vuitton bag on a table. I waited about 20 minutes but remember seeing her leave, and so I grabbed it and put it in Lost and Found. Literally a box we had in the back. I never once looked inside. My boss said, "Since you found it, if no one turns up for it in a month you can have it." I gleamed but really thought about a lady leaving something so valuable behind. Of course she'll be back. A month went by. Not even so much as a call happened. My boss said, "Hey, it's been a month, do you want that bag?" I said sure and went in the back to retrieve it. I unzipped the top and to my surprise nothing was in it but a piece of paper. I opened up the piece of paper and it was a receipt for the bag. On the receipt was a note saying to the girl who needed a new purse during the holidays. Whoever this lady was intended on doing this in the first place. I looked at the receipt. $1,700 for this bag. I carefully put my items in it and took it home and didn't say another word about it. People still to this day think it's a good fake. If only they knew. At that time I was only making $9 an hour. No way I'd be able to afford this bag easily. 3. Friend of mine went on a 2-week vacation to Europe for his 20-year anniversary. Came home to his house completely demoed and about halfway through a complete remodel. New kitchen, new bath, new roof. They were about a day away from knocking out the back wall of his bedroom to add another bed, bath and 900 square feet to the house. What the HE double hockey sticks are you doing in my house? Did I win a sweepstakes or something? Your house was foreclosed like a month ago. We got the demo order 2 weeks ago. Complete rehab. Can I see your paperwork? Contractor goes to his truck to get the clipboard. Here you go, said smugly. This order is for 145 Main Street. Can't remember the exact address. My house is 154 Main Street. Contractor looks at the paper in horror, runs over to the curb in front of the house, checks the painted street number, looks back at his paperwork, looks at the house number on the torn apart house, looks down the street to the actual foreclosure, the one covered in weeds and broken windows. Thought I gotta make a phone call. Sure, you do that. Hey, where's all my stuff? When the dust finally settled, friend got the rehab completely finished, including all his preferred appointments, right color kitchen, bath, etc. New roof, the works. Real estate investor group who bought the foreclosure and hired the contractor had to buy them a bunch of new furniture that was destroyed in the demo. Basically a new house for free. Whoops. 4. Last year, my husband and I made big plans to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary, beginning with a transatlantic voyage from the UK to NYC on the Queen Mary 2. Booked into Queen's Grill, which is quite posh. We also booked a flight from NYC to Texas, which is home. We live in Ireland. The vow renewal ceremony and dinner was to take place in Texas. When we arrived in Southampton to board the QM2, we were told the voyage had been cancelled due to some problem on board. However, they strongly suggested that we go aboard and wait for them to arrange travel plans to Texas. Okay. Beautiful suite with a covered balcony, private butler, all the food, shows, services. It took a week for them to arrange our travel to Texas. So we stayed aboard and had a great time. Then, they put us in a taxi from Southampton to London, paid for by them, and flew us business class from London to Dallas, non-stop. Then reimbursed us for the cost of the voyage. Thank you, Kennard. 5. I really can't afford this, I reluctantly admitted. The salesman who I'd let in 2 hours ago to do a free demonstration on my carpet replied, "I'll just leave it here tonight so you can finish the rest of your carpet and be back tomorrow afternoon to pick it up." It was an $2,000 rainbow vacuum cleaner with all of the attachments and a carbon copy contract outlining payments for the next 2 years. I would have loved to own it, but it was 1996, I was 22 years old with a small new home and newborn baby. This guy, his name was Chris, wasn't going away anytime soon, but as an appreciation gift to me in exchange for his harassment to buy this item, I would have the next 24 hours to use this incredibly powerful dirt-sucking contraption for free. This is almost identical to what it looked like, faux wood grain marble leaf finish and all. I dreaded spending another afternoon with this guy, but the salesman finally left and I got busy cleaning, making the most of the short time I had. The next afternoon came and Chris didn't show up. As the afternoon turned into evening, I placed his vacuum in my spare room and decided if he didn't show by 9 p.m. the porch light was being turned off and I was going to bed. He didn't show. The next day I waited until 4 p.m. and called the company listed on the finance contract Chris had left with me. I didn't want to get this guy in trouble, but I wasn't buying this vacuum either. The lady who answered explained Chris had not shown up for work the day before, and as a result of not showing today without explanation, he no longer worked for them. I told her he left the vacuum with me. She took my address, thanked me for notifying them, and said someone would be out the following day to pick it up. No one ever came. I called back several times over the next few weeks, and her answer was always the same: someone will be out there to pick it up tomorrow or on Saturday. Each time I waited diligently and no one ever came. I waited another couple weeks. Nothing. Eventually their phone number was disconnected. After a year I moved, threw out the carbon copy contract, and the Rainbow vacuum stayed with me for the next 10 years. 6. Once I was traveling across western Kansas with my 2 young children and I needed to get home. I hadn't let anyone know that I was down to my last money and highly stressed about the trip, nervously running the math of miles and miles per gallon and how many gallons my tank held, all while I drove in silence. This was in the late 1980s. Somewhere across the great empty expanse of rural Kansas, I stopped for gas. I gave the cashier my last $20 plus some change. So say the gas was $16.53, and I gave her my precious only $20 bill plus $1.53 so I could get a $5 back. I needed a miracle to make the $5 stretch to get us home and had no idea how it could happen. The kids were asking for drinks, and my response of a hard no let them know we were not in a good place with money. They went back to the car quietly, and I felt bad that I let them see my stress. In the meantime, the cashier handed me back about $25. I looked at what she put in my hand and said, "I don't think that's right." She cut me off with a snippy response that of course it was right. She didn't do this as a gift. She was offended that I thought she couldn't make change correctly. I stood a second and looked at the cash in my hand. Essentially the last tank of gas I was going to need to make it back home safely. I accepted the gift. I've never forgotten it. 7. When my father died at age 67, he had an outstanding line of credit with a bank. The balance was around $14,000. I was taking care of his affairs and I took a hard look at the statements. The loan had an accompanying life insurance policy that would pay off the loan in the event of the borrower's death. I saw on his bank statements they were collecting around $11 per month as a premium on the policy. But there was fine print it would only pay out if the borrower died at age 66 or less. Dad just missed the cutoff. Something was odd. My father had been 67 for 5 or 6 months. On the recent bank statements they were still collecting the premium, but at a reduced rate, $4 per month. It seemed like they had noticed he had aged out of eligibility, but instead of zeroing out the premium they still collected $4 per month. I called the bank and told them it wasn't right to collect the premium and not pay out on the policy. The bank was non-committal. A few days later we got a statement in the mail indicating the insurance had paid off the loan and the balance was zero.